Welcome to the Wellness Revolution podcast, the radio show all about wellness in your mind, body, spirit, personal growth, sex, and relationships. Stay tuned for weekly interviews featuring guests that have achieved physical, mental, and spiritual health in their lives. If you'd like to have access to our entire back catalog, visit drveronica.com for instant access. And here is your host, Dr. Veronica.
Dr. Veronica, medical doctor, medical intuitive, bringing you more information for you to transform your health. If you haven't figured it out yet, the way to transform your health is not through taking pills or doing surgery. It can put a Band-Aid on the problem so you can live long enough to figure out why you got the illness in the first place. But if you're walking around on that Lipitor, on that blood pressure medicine, on that thyroid medicine, you need to figure out why. What is the cause of the cause? And so every illness and injury, every single illness and injury has a root cause that is emotional and or spiritual. Every single illness and injury, in addition to the environmental, the lifestyle, and the genetic. And so there are several things that play into what diseases that you manifest or don't manifest. We're in the intuitive area today, and I'm happy about that. I'm looking always for wonderful guests who are in the intuitive fields, who work as facilitators of healing. Now, a lot of people call themselves healers. We are facilitators of healing. The healing comes from the creator of all that is, and we help facilitate it. So through me, previously in my career, I was an eye surgeon, and through the education and training that the creator of all allowed me to get and allowed the skills to manifest in me well, I was able to help people regain their eyesight and their clarity. I did cataract surgery. I did glaucoma surgery, lasers. I even helped teach other doctors how to do these types of procedures. But now in my career, I'm hands off except for hugs. And why is that? It's because we know that there's a better way. There really is a better way. And it's to work with people's energy. And you don't need to be present or even touch someone physically to work with their energy. And one of the interesting, exciting ways to work with people's energy is to help them understand their soul journey. And your soul journey didn't just start here and now, plop, when you came out of your mother. Your soul journey has been going on for more years than you can count, more years than we probably all can even count, because you always were and you always will be. This is interesting to me. I talk about my relatives and my family and give you stories, but how I first started really delving into my intuitive abilities is, well, first I realized that I just knew things and I just could see things that other people didn't know or see. And I kept my mouth shut for quite a long time. But then one day I had a friend, and I mentioned to her that I met someone, and I knew where I met them, but it wasn't in this particular lifetime. And I could see the whole story. And so thus in me, I didn't know what was happening at that time. I was having spontaneous past life memories. And so I would meet people and be able to tell a story around them with emotion. And it was just fascinating to me. But in the world, in America, where we're so very concrete, a lot of people are probably listening to this and, maybe don't want other people to know that they're listening to what we're talking about now. But there's a whole nother world. There's galaxies and universes and parallels, and the Matrix is real. I love the movie The Matrix because the Matrix is real. I've been in the Matrix. It's real. Wow. And so the people that are around me, I understand in my soul journey and their soul journey, we've all agreed to help each other evolve in this lifetime. And so that includes my children who've been with me in other capacities in other lifetimes. My husband, my current husband, I saw life with him 2500 BC where we were together. I saw another life where he told me, I'll always be with you. And these have been in past life memories that have come through doing past life regression, or just spontaneously in a dream or at another time. For me, when I just think real hard and concentrate on, I want to know more about this story, I can, let's say, hypnotize my state into telling the whole story. So not only can I do this, and have people, the best way is for you to tell your own story. But when I do intuitive readings on people, I can reach a lot of times into their past lives and give meaning behind some of their medical ailments. So I did a past life reading. I did a energetic reading, a medical intuitive reading on a lady about 3 weeks ago. And this lady at 62 all of a sudden was having panic attacks. And she couldn't figure out. I go out and I'm driving, and I've never had panic attacks before. I go out driving and I have panic attacks, and it's really debilitating now. And this just cropped up. Oh, and by the way, I've met this guy online. We've never met, and I'm really in love with him. And I'm just mortified to meet him because I'm 62, but I know he's very young. But I'm so attracted to him, and he's so attracted to me, and I'm just so in fear of meeting him, but I don't even understand what's happening and why I feel this way. And I was able to be in her energetic field and tell her about how she, in a previous life, in a love conflict, because this was a conflict where she fell in love with somebody she wasn't married to. She was married to a wonderful man and with a happy life. And she happened to meet this other man one day in a store in their small town with her children. And they became friends. She didn't know at the time what was happening. He didn't know. They became friends and they fell in love. Innocent falling in love. She was so conflicted she didn't know what to do. She felt about betraying her husband, was horrible. She wanted to leave and pursue this love affair, but yet she couldn't leave. She ended up driving her children, 3 children, and herself into a river. She killed herself and 2 of her children. Her 3rd child got out. And it was the soul that she has met, that she is wildly in love with, is the soul of that man that she was in love with, that she killed herself because she couldn't figure out what to do. Thus, we had an explanation that, and now you say, well, what did she say about this? I know, I can see pieces of this and that and the other thing. So part of going to intuitive professionals is not just about a floor, Uncle Benny wants to say this to you. That could be it. But also figuring out why there are some symptoms there. And as you understand it, a lot of people can have instantaneous healings because they realize that that's not of this life. This is why I feel this way. I can let that go and vanish sometimes problems immediately during sessions. And this is why we do these type of healing sessions. This is why I say to people, listen, if you have a really difficult problem, contact me. Send me a note. Get a medical intuitive reading. What would it be? Would it be worth the investment to spend an hour to an hour and a half with me unraveling what your emotional and spiritual state has to do with in this life and in other lives, your medical problems, and be able to unravel it and get your stress, your fear, your anger, and sadness into a place of love and joy and really evolve your soul so that you can live out and fulfill your life purpose? Wouldn't that be wonderful? Your medical conditions, your injuries, your illnesses are challenges meant to evolve your soul. So now I'm going to bring on a local, and I'm so happy. I don't get to talk to locals a whole lot. I talk to people all over the country, but Michele Granberg is a local, and you can find her right here and go visit her at her office, Michele Granberg. And Michele is trained in past lives and how to use them in their healing. And Michele, welcome to Wellness for the Real World.
Hey, Dr. Veronica. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm happy. Michele and I met at a fair, the Women's Expo. And I said, oh gosh, I got to have you on my show. I went and trained with Brian Weiss because I wanted to understand how to do past life regression therapy and have more experiences. And I looked at long ago, you trained with Brian Weiss and you do this. Past lives. Give us some information about how do we know that past lives are even real? Like I'm sitting here talking about all this and you're saying, yeah, people are saying, yeah, right. She's crazy. I know I'm not crazy. Past lives. How do we know?
Well, we know it differently than how we know other things. It's not really something that comes through the intellect. It's definitely something that comes more through the soul, the heart, and the intuition. So there's really no book to look it up in, although lots of people have written books about validating their experiences by being able to look back at records when they're available and, finding those kinds of details and facts. But with past life regression, we're delving into the realm of direct experience. So you know how when you know something that you just know it because you feel it deeply, it's grounded within you, it's undeniable, it's unshakable, and people report. So that's why past life regression is so powerful, because it's a direct experience of your past lives by going within and finding that the memories are there inside of you. It's not anything outside of you that you're reading about. It's not anybody telling you that. It's a powerful direct experience that is often emotional, and that's the kind of thing you really can't conjure up. And there's a shift. People remember their past lives. We process through those lives, and there is always some shift, some lightening of a burden, some release that occurs.
Yes. Now, you have a traditional background with your master's in arts of psychology and counseling, and you also do hypnotherapy, which a lot of people now embrace as something that works. But past life therapist is just not mainstream still, although you've been doing it for so long. How did you come upon being a past life therapist?
Well, yeah, you're right. It's not quite mainstream yet. My hope and my vision and my intention is to help it really to get there, along with so many other amazing leaders and pioneers in the field like Dr. Brian Weiss. But the way I came to it was, through my traditional background in counseling and psychology, I was already interested in people and their psychology and what makes them tick and their emotions and supporting them and being a caregiver, and a clinician in that way. And then, of course, I wanted to combine that with my own budding interest, having compelling experiences with spiritual exploration myself. And I found when I discovered Dr. Weiss's work, it felt like a perfect marriage, a perfect fusing of psychology and spirituality. So I could take a psycho-spiritual approach and include both models of looking at someone and engaging someone and dialoguing about their healing. So really it was from my own, desire for something better, for seeking something, really deeper. And it fit that bill really well. And so now I have the missing piece in terms of helping people. The missing piece is the most essential piece that often traditional therapies miss, which, as you were saying, is the soul, is knowing that really is the core, the essence of who we are. So we have to actually start there, and then everything else is more on the outskirts of who they are, more symptomatic of who they are than the true self.
Yes. So people have to understand that you have many parts of you.
Right.
One part is your genetic history. Another part is your soul history. And there are layers and layers. There's more than that. But just think of it simply. People worry about their DNA, but your soul has a different pathway than your DNA, actually. So you're not always within the same family structure. You're with different people, and that's how your soul travels. You have so many areas of talent. We need to do just a show to talk about each one of the areas of talent that you have.
Yeah.
And it tends to be that people who offer these intuitive services continue to explore, and we realize how much we help people. And so we continue to put more tools in our kit to be able to help people heal. Have you yourself, before you started doing this, were you having past life memories, or what is your personal experience with this?
Well, I did have some experience with past life regression, and I definitely had memories before I was trained or before I started, doing this with clients. And, certainly those experiences, a lot of what it showed me was that it's sort of in my design. It's even in my pre-birth planning, my own soul willing to be in this life to help others. Now that I have sort of gone through that myself, to help others to remember their past lives as well. So, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what happens with lots of healers and caregivers. It is through their own seeking and their own healing that then they know more about their own purpose.
So tell me more about how you conduct these past life regression therapy sessions. What is the usual state of being? People are afraid of being hypnotized and out of control. What happens during these typical sessions?
Well, definitely that's one of the things that I like to clear up with people first and foremost. Not as much now. Often people will come to me having read some books and have some knowledge of what past life regression therapy is, but sometimes even with that or in spite of that, they might come with some fear or trepidation, and that's why. They fear what's going to come up during the regression, if it's going to be something traumatic. Will they be re-traumatized? Will they get stuck in the memory? Will it open up something that they can't complete? And so I like to clear that up with people. That's kind of a misconception. You are in control. You are aware of where you are, that you're still here in the room in the present. You go into a state of sort of dual awareness. You're having the memories. You are observing the memories. And at the exact same time, you're still knowing yourself by your current name and your current identity. So one of the most important things I do is create safe space with people. As a therapist, we always know safe, non-judgmental, confidential, supportive space is therapeutic and healing in and of itself. So my rapport, developing a rapport as quickly as possible with a client is first and foremost. And then from there, often people come with goals in mind, and I can help them clarify some goals or intentions when we speak together, because that is really what frames the session, that reason, that they're coming with for whatever higher outcome, whatever they hope to learn. And often, all the time, the subconscious mind or the cellular memory is always paying attention to that intention, because intention is energy, as you know, and that's where things come from. So based on that intention, we set that space, and then I guide them using hypnotherapy techniques, kind of garden variety, relaxation, meditation, soft music, visualization, and imagery to quiet the conscious mind, or let the conscious mind sort of take a secondary position, a back seat, if you will. And then I use all of my tools as well as intuition, because intuition always plays a role as I'm going with them. I go with them on that journey. It's memory recall. We create the conditions under which it's most likely that memories will come to the forefront, to the conscious awareness to be reviewed. It's a life review. And from that life review, we gather just a richness, just such a wealth of material that we move through together, because the client is, again, awake and conscious, even though they're in that light state of trance, if you want to call it, or relaxation. So we move through that, stopping and pausing at the emotions, stopping and pausing when deeper insights are coming, exploring it in that way all the way through, very often, to their death scene and beyond that as well.
Well, you said the D word, and people hate the D word in this society. Tell us
right?
more about when people have those quote unquote death scenes, which once we understand the idea behind past lives, death is not scary at all. It's just when people say, are you afraid to die? When my time comes, it comes. If it comes tomorrow, if it comes as I'm leaving the studio, as it comes, somebody walks down the hall and starts shooting and it's my time. I'm not afraid of death because I know that is not the end. And it was just, I was at the time and place. I did what I had to do now. It's my time. And therefore, I'm moving on to something else. This is how you begin to process death. So for these people that don't see it this way, and they come in and you go through a death scene, describe how they feel. What happens to them? Do they feel traumatized by seeing their own death?
Very often, interestingly enough, it's almost the opposite. Even when it's a traumatic death, they actually feel a sense of relief, because somewhere inside of them, they recognize this dual experience. So they're able to release the fear of death through remembering their death, because they're able to observe it and know they're still alive, and yet have the awareness of this memory, and they know that it's a memory of dying. So sometimes temporarily or briefly, there's an experience of maybe physical pain, a remnant of that physical pain that may still be impressed in their energy field comes up, but I help them to frame it differently, that's coming up for releasing. It's coming up because it was stuck and it's coming to the surface, and breathe through it. Let's breathe through it. Let's observe it. Let's let it, like a wave, wash through. It's just temporary. Just be with it. And I frame it intuitively in ways that helps them to just sort of, stay with the experience and not, not add to it. So usually they're able to do that. They're able to feel a feeling or feel a sensation and then kind of go beyond that. And often in a regression, I'll lead them to the, when they're actually leaving their body, because we can remember even those moments of being free of the physical body. And even we can certainly, during the same kind of experience, remember the life between lives. And so that is always a state that is beautiful.
Yes.
And pleasant. So people start to understand and feel death. Of course, it's not an ending. And of course, it's not a punishment. That death is a step. It's just a natural step and a transition.
Yeah,
and a beginning. It's really a beginning in many ways.
I had an experience where I could see the life between lives, or the state between lives at one point. It's interesting because I was able to see different people. I remember seeing, it's funny, I talk about my father and I know he agreed, and I'm just, upset at my father right now, and the audience has been listening to my story as we go along the show. But I remember seeing him in that hall, sitting at a table, reading a book. This is the life between life. I remember seeing my father there. People appear to you, souls appear to you as you will recognize them in past lives. So even though they perhaps could have looked differently, they appear so that you will recognize who they are. We use our vision a lot. So you will recognize them in some way. So I've seen that hall of books and different people in the life between lives and that's the planning phase of, okay, what am I doing now? Where am I going? What am I going to learn? Also about past lives, what are some of the common issues that people come and they want to work out that this type of therapy is particularly good for?
Well, people often come to past life regression therapy when they've tried other forms of therapy or traditional forms of therapy, and they only got so far, and they sort of got, kind of halted in the process. They often know that they can't find an origin for a fear or a pattern or a phobia. They can't find a reasonable origin for it in this life. So they come to past life regression therapy knowing just that much, that it's possible for past life regression therapy to go back to the origin, to the source, to that specific event, so that you can be able to then be free of that by making it conscious. So, that's really the benefit, is that it sheds light on these old patterns. We're exploring for healing and for growth and for catharsis to really relieve that. People come, sometimes they come because they want to know their purpose. They want to know what gifts and talents they may have had in prior lives. They want validation of their current path. And sometimes it is those other things. They don't understand why they have this general feeling of anxiety or this general fear that they cannot find a reason for. And sometimes they come for unexplained, like you were saying, the mind-body connection, and that everything is emotionally rooted. All physical afflictions are emotionally, energetically rooted. So they'll come with this problem that a doctor has not been able to diagnose. And sure enough, we'll go back to a past life, and very often we'll find a past life fatal wound or a trauma or an event that the soul easily makes a connection. We don't even have to dig very much. It's obvious. The neck problems that you're having in this life is related to you being hung in another life or something like that. The pain you have in your right side, we discover it's related to, an arrow that was shot into their shoulder in another life.
Yeah, because we have all these feelings in our body and twitches, and they're unexplained based on simple anatomy. And so you'll go to your traditional, conventionally trained doctor and you'll say, I have this or that. And they'll say, that doesn't make any sense. I can't explain why. There's no reason. I don't see anything. Looks fine. There's nothing really wrong, but it just doesn't make any sense. Why you have that shooting pain there. Right. And they don't see anything. It's the x-rays are normal, the lab tests are normal, but you have this pain. I had a gentleman come in who he had this foot pain. Now he was a diabetic and all that type of stuff, but he had surgery and there was no explanation for this foot pain that went across his foot in a horizontal fashion in a straight line. All doctors know that that's not how the nerves travel. And when I sat there and looked at him, I said, you were a soldier in the Civil War and your foot was cut off so that you couldn't run away with an axe. And that's why your left foot hurts like that. And I don't care what surgery a doctor does or what medicine you take, that pain is from that. And so in order for you to get rid of the pain, you have to understand, well, what did you get from that experience and then be able to let it go. So it's all exciting to be able to figure it out. I also must say, I believe that these are very useful tools, but you have to work it all together.
Yes.
You cannot just do the spiritual work and not do the physical work. And so what I tell people, especially when I'm doing readings, is we figure out the spiritual while we're supporting the physical. You got to do all the physical. You have to take care of the physical. If it's an acute problem, you may need surgery or a pharmaceutical. If it's not an acute problem and it's simmering, then we can go a more holistic approach with, targeted, strategic eating plans and supplement protocols and all those type of things. You must work on the spiritual. At the same time, you are working on the physical. One does not work without the other. If you get rid of your breast cancer and you don't work on that spiritual problem, you'll get a heart attack. If you fix that heart attack and you don't work on that problem, you'll get problems in your lung and you won't be able to breathe. Why? It's all in the heart chakra. You'll get lymphedema. You will get some other really life-threatening complication when you're having that spiritual issue and you don't work on it. And so therefore, I would recommend to people that you consider people like Michele Granberg. I got to plug you a little bit more. Michele has her own TV show on Princeton Community Television called Positive Energy. Her website, relaxationandhealing.com. Go to her website. She's always having workshops and training for you to learn more about this and have the experience. And Michele's one of these people that I said, Michele, we got to do something together so we can work with people and they can have all different types of experience. It's very powerful when different healers work together because we can tag team. Because what'll happen is she'll be working her whatever and she'll get what she gets. And then another person who's a healer will get something else. And then, you have this energy flowing around someone to uplift them and figure out here's what's going on in you. So Michele, I thank you so much for being on Wellness for the Real World. Michele Granberg, past life regression therapist, among other things. I'm Dr. Veronica, medical doctor, medical intuitive. This is Wellness for the Real World.
Thank you for listening to the Wellness Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more on how to bring wellness into your life, visit drveronica.com. See you all next week. Take care.